Hello and welcome to this reduced length video tutorial for week 9 of the iRacing Global Mazda MX-5 Cup Series for virtualracingschool.com. We return to Lime Rock for the second time this season, but this time in the infamous Chicane configuration, and as such I'll discuss the affected sequences only. Firstly, the circuit in the normal full layout is already a big challenge, especially for drivers who might be new to iRacing or sim racing in general, but the chicane makes what was already probably the most dangerous of corners into a bit of a monster. It's likely we'll see massive attrition this week as drivers fall victim to this corner, which is notoriously difficult to get right consistently, even for the best drivers out there. Having excellent car control is very important, as typically the fastest way through here requires a line almost guaranteed to produce aggressive oversteer. I highly recommend watching the week 3 tutorial, which is available in the description, and you should have a link in the video itself right now. So I'll play the whole lap through for you before then going into tackling the chicane. And also I'll note that although I was heel and toe downshifting for this lap, it was quite early on when I was still getting familiar with it again, and I forgot to use the clutch pedal on downshifts. So you, in the sim, you can actually get away with that. If you have a big enough blip, it will still go down into gear. So if you're wondering why the clutch isn't operational, that's why. It's also why we don't have the pedals camera, but because it was such a good lap, this certainly was 2 or 3 tenths faster than any lap that I'd done previously, so I thought it was I wouldn't be able to replicate it basically. So yeah, enough rambling, let's go back and watch the full lap. So yeah, that was a 59.613. As I said, it was a very good lap. It's kind of a lottery, the chicane, in terms of when you can get it right. It's very easy to get wrong. But what we'll do is we'll skip forward to that point. So as we approach the exit onto No Name Straight, circuit's very much the same. The approach is similar, pretty much identical right up until here. So you have pretty much the same turn-in point. So you've got this tree on the left, you've got this discoloration in the grass as well on the left, and you've also got the circuit kind of straightens out slightly. You want to be turning in just after there, and where it becomes different is instead of trying to carry the throttle through here, you want to be off the throttle and on the brakes. Now, this is an extremely tricky braking zone. You pretty much will induce oversteer just by slowing the car down. So if you are struggling with oversteer on the brakes into here, the only real way around that is to just move your braking further back. So brake earlier, so that you're well below the limit of grip. But if you want to be on the edge, You want to get the best lap times. You leave your braking nice and late, and as you are turning in, you can't afford to brake very hard, so about 30% here. And notice how I've already had a correction for oversteer, so that braking is always going to induce oversteer, so you need to be ready to make a correction to it and catch it. So it's important to have good car control. You want to be aiming for this first curb. That's going to be your first apex, if you will. But then you want to be breathing back on the throttle as the circuit opens up again slightly, before then attempting your approach into the chicane. So allow the car on the throttle to just drift towards the middle of the circuit. So we're now fully in the middle of the circuit between the white lines, and we're half throttle at this point. And then it's very much, I mean, obviously the chicane itself is blind, but you do sort of have a reference in terms of the top of this curb. So you want to be aiming for the top of the curb, still in third gear. The whole chicane's in third gear, and you're just playing with the throttle through the whole section. So if I just play that through, and you're just basically waiting for the car to land. You can cut the chicane a lot, but waiting for the car to land and then getting hard on the throttle, assuming that the car lands nicely. So if we take it through slowly, so aiming for the top of the curb, as I've said. I was kind of breathing on the brake, breathing on the throttle there. So I guess I'm probably still right foot braking because I've had to downshift. So that breath of throttle might have been accidental just there, but probably not. So basically I'm just trying to balance the car on this particular line. So if we just have a look at that, so this is pretty much the fastest line, so a good amount of this first curb. Any more of that and you will get an instant. So the other thing to notice is, oh look, we're on two wheels. So that is going to happen if you want to take the fastest line. And then the other thing is you've got these bollards here at the middle apex. Basically you can just ignore them. That's about as tight as you can afford to be. So avoid the first one, but just plough straight through the ones in the middle, and wait for the car to kind of settle. So obviously we're on two wheels at the moment, so you need to kind of feather the throttle. I don't know why I'm touching the brakes there, but I'm kind of just playing with the pedals at this point, just in anticipation of some oversteer or some change of line that needs to be necessary. So the car lands quite nicely. I happen to be on the best line here at the apex, and as the car lands, which it lands really nicely, barely any hint of, I mean there's still a lot of oversteer, I'm counter steering here, but this is nice. This is about as good as it gets on this particular line, and when it happens like this you can pick up the throttle nice and early, so we're already at full throttle and we are not running out of track. So although I get close to the grass, I don't actually really run over it. So fortunately this exit curb saves me, and notice how I get extremely close. I just kind of graze these exit bollards. You don't want to exit any wider than that because you'll lose traction. It will basically mean you'll be on the grass with the car still loaded up. You can see the car is really loaded up at this point, so you just need to be aware that if you are on a wider line you need to be ready and willing to have a big lift. So I was very lucky on this particular lap, and I mean the rest of the lap is very, very much the same. The only slight difference is into this next corner, West Bend. You barely need to brake. I mean it's just a full lift to get the car rotating, but not really braking. Let's just have a look. So yeah, I do actually just breathe on the brake pedal. I'm probably left foot braking for this corner because I don't need to downshift. So just feather the brake, take a lift, get the car rotated, and if you hook up nicely with the apex like I do here, nice and close to the curb, then you can get straight back to full throttle and use all of the exit curb. And then the rest of the lap is very much the same. Just keeping your speed up, keeping your momentum up, keeping your lines precise, and across the line. And that completes our analysis with the MX-5 Global Cup car at Lime Rock Park Chicane. You can find qualifying and race setups, telemetry and replays for all sorts of data packs over at virtualracingschool.com, where you can also book one-to-one tuition with myself or top drivers from the likes of Coanda Simsport and Team Redline. Good luck this week, I really mean that, and thanks for watching.